I have a few images from a catalog model photo shoot. It had much more images, but it doesn't really matter. You can do a few or a few hundred in exactly the same way. The first thing you have to do is open them all in Camera Raw. There's no point in opening them all at once if you have more than 100, especially if they are raw images. In case there are many images, it's reasonable to work in batches, opening 50 to 100 images at the same time. If you try to open much more than that, it will probably slow down your computer. But the most important reason is that if your machine or Photoshop crashes, all the changes you've made will be lost forever. To avoid that, I prefer opening about 40 images at a time. Don't get me wrong, crashes do not occur often, but it's always very annoying if that happens. As I said, first we fix any issues, and then we enhance and make all the images look approximately the same if there are any irregularities. Issue number 1 to check for is the white balance. To do so, I'll move the saturation slider to its far right position. The background didn't change much, and the model skin turned bright orange. This is a good thing, it means white balance was set correctly and we don't have to fix it. The background is about neutral and skin is not greenish or pinkish. Every photo shoot is unique, but there are some things you normally know about the conditions. I know that I can rely on the background as it's more or less neutral in real life. There are other backgrounds which are not neutral, but you can still use them for white balance issue detection. For example, if a background is bluish in real life, it should be always bluish if the white balance is correct, and if it's greenish or yellowish, it means there's something wrong with the white balance. I prefer neutral backgrounds because you can use them to set the white balance if it's off. To do so, simply choose a place that is not too close neither to the model nor to the edges of the image, and click on it with the white balance tool. If I try it on this particular shooting, it won't change much because it's already correct. But if it was off, this would fix it. Don't forget to select all the images so that the changes will be applied to them all. I'll zoom the image to 100% and check if it's in focus, as well as a few other images. It seems alright. There are no problems with this shooting and this is how it should be. A steady retouching flow is not possible if all you do is making things right, because other people can't do it right. It's about being able to produce a lot of images with good quality and fast. Now let's enhance it. These images are supposed to be isolated on white, so there's a lot of light involved. It makes images less contrasted, and this is what we're going to enhance. This particular client's demands are as follows. They like a lot of contrast, they also love saturated colors, and this is how they want their images to look. It's not a must-do for all the catalog images. I know a lot of online stores that seem to like a more high-key approach, less contrast, less saturation, more light. There's no such thing as one rule on how you should do it, but in general, people prefer more contrast and more saturation. I'll apply a basic preset that increases saturation and contrast globally and locally by accessing the Presets tab. You can apply any preset you saved by clicking on its name. I'll check a few images to see if everything is fine or not. The black coat looks a bit too dark, just under 20-20-20 if I measure it with the eyedropper. So it would only be reasonable to set the black slider back to 0. In fact, I can set it to 0 on all the images as it's not the black slider that affects contrast but the clarity. If I set that to 0, that would bring contrast down, so I won't do that. Every shooting is a bit different from one another, so it's really okay. Just watch what's going on every time, as your basic preset might be too much in some cases. If I see the same thing on the next few shootings, I'll just change the basic preset, but for now, setting the blacks to 0 is enough. A few words about clarity. It's a very popular slider as it increases contrast locally and makes images instantly look better. Just beware that you should watch it on your model images and never set it to anything more than 20. Objects can be 30 with no side effects, but more than that and you'll be getting weird halos, and your images will probably look unnatural. Let's now crop the images. To do so, I'll select them all and use the crop tool to create a crop box with the right proportions somewhere where it will be on most images. In this case, just below the nose and shoes. Now I will click on the first image preview to remove the selection of them all, as I'll be cropping them individually from now on. To check if the crop looks good, if the model is standing straight and not leaning anywhere, I can press C and look at just the crop box contents. When cropping close-ups, I usually pay attention to focus areas. There is no point in showing blurry textures. So all this cropping thing is about pressing down to switch to the next image, moving the box around, rotating, checking if it's okay, and moving on. The black coat still looks a bit black to me, but I won't be doing anything in Camera Raw about it, as I won't sacrifice the overall contrast to fix just the coat. There's no way to fix just the coat in Camera Raw. All the sliders I might use for that will affect the whole image. I don't want that to happen. In terms of exposure, the shooting seems perfect. It happens a lot that close-ups are darker than the rest of the images, but in this case I don't even have to adjust the exposure. It's good. Now I can just select all the images again and open them in Photoshop.